A routine evening turned into a nightmare when a single scream on a cold winter night shattered the calm of Mapleton, a town where everyone knew everyone. That single cry marked the beginning of an investigation that would unravel long-buried secrets. The clock's hands crept past 10 p.m. on December 15th in Mapleton, a serene hamlet nestled amidst rolling hills and snow-covered pines. A solitary figure was seen near the quiet outskirts, racing along a dimly lit road. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced through the silence. A desperate, heart-wrenching call for help that would echo through the town for years to come. In a shaky audio recording captured by a passerby, a voice trembled. Caller, barely intelligible, somebody. Please, help. Oh my God! As emergency services scrambled in the pitch-black night, the image of a distraught woman staggering into view under the flickering glow of a streetlight became forever imprinted in the minds of first responders. This harrowing moment set the stage for an investigation that would force Mapleton to confront its darkest secrets. The victim, Alicia Monroe. Alicia Monroe was known as the heart and soul of Mapleton. A 27-year-old community organizer and local volunteer, Alicia dedicated her life to uplifting her neighbors and bringing hope to those in distress. With her radiant smile and contagious energy, she was the person everyone turned to during tough times. Her disappearance, and later the discovery of her lifeless body, sent shock waves through the community, leaving residents with a sinking feeling that something was very wrong. The suspects, David Rourke and Leo Jenkins. David Rourke was a troubled ex-military man who had recently returned to Mapleton after a long stint overseas. His disciplined exterior masked inner demons, and whispers about his volatile temper had long circulated among the locals. Despite his attempts at reintegration into civilian life, an undercurrent of resentment seemed to follow him wherever he went. Leo Jenkins was a drifter with a shadowy past, wandering into Mapleton with little more than a backpack and a reputation for evasiveness. Known for his transient lifestyle and secretive nature, Leo was considered by many to be a living enigma, a man whose true motives were impossible to decipher at first glance. His sporadic appearances had often coincided with minor disturbances around town, and his presence during the time of Alicia's disappearance would not go unnoticed. Hey, if this story has caught your attention so far, take a quick second to like, subscribe, and share to help us grow the channel. Your support helps us create more meaningful stories that touch lives. Now, back to the story. Setting the scene. Mapleton was traditionally a haven of simplicity and togetherness. The picturesque streets lined with vintage lampposts and the nearby lake that shimmered under the winter moon were symbols of its comforting regularity. Yet, in the days preceding the tragic night, subtle signals hinted at brewing discord. Furtive glances between residents, hushed discussions behind closed doors, and a series of strange phone calls received by Alicia that hinted at hidden threats. During a quiet moment at the local diner, Alicia's best friend, Mariah, recalled the last conversation they had. Mariah, in a reflective tone, Alicia sounded distracted that day. She mentioned someone was watching her, but I thought she was exaggerating. I never imagined it would lead to this. These ominous undertones set the stage, slowly building the tension that would culminate in a tragedy that was as baffling as it was brutal. Night of the abduction. On that fateful December evening, the streets of Mapleton were unusually empty. A biting wind swept through the town as darkness enveloped the area. Alicia had been returning from a community meeting at the Civic Center, her mind full of plans for the next charity event. Her route home took her past the quiet section of Elmwood Avenue, a narrow lane lined with abandoned warehouses and snow-dusted hedges. As Alicia's car rounded a sharp bend, a large, unmarked van pulled alongside her vehicle. In an instant, the ambience of the night shifted from mundane to menacing. The van's sliding door opened with an eerie mechanical groan, and two figures in dark jackets emerged under the dim glow of the van's interior light. Alicia's eyes widened in terror as the strangers pounded on her side window. In an almost surreal sequence, she attempted to accelerate away. But before her car could gain momentum, a forceful blow slammed into the driver's door, jarring her and causing the vehicle to swerve off the icy road. A vivid, harrowing encounter. In the ensuing moments, Alicia's world became a blur of chaos. Her heart thundered in her chest as she was dragged out of the car by unseen hands. Everything was happening in slow motion, the crunch of broken glass underfoot, the hiss of the cold wind, and the eerie silence punctuated only by her muffled cries for help. Witness statement captured on a cell phone. Witness, voice shaking, "I saw her struggling. These men, their faces were hidden by dark hoods. It was like a scene from a nightmare." As Alicia was forced into the van, the distant sound of an approaching siren was abruptly drowned out by the van's engine revving and the screech of tires on wet asphalt. Later, when the searchlights of multiple police cruisers illuminated the area, the van had vanished into the labyrinthine backroads that crisscrossed the outskirts of Mapleton. Within minutes of the abduction, frantic calls flooded the Mapleton Emergency Center. Dispatchers struggled to obtain details as terrified citizens relayed their observations over cold, crackling lines. A harried operator recorded snippets of confused statements. "I saw a van, dark figures, please hurry," and "there's been an abduction on Elmwood." Later forensic reconstructions depicted the scene in brutal detail. The remnants of Alicia's car lay abandoned, its tires skidding on black ice and its windshield streaked with raindrops that resembled tears. At the roadside, imprints of footprints in the soft snow bore testimony to a violent struggle. Pieces of fabric, likely torn from her jacket during the abduction, were scattered like breadcrumbs leading back to the now-forgotten path of the van. In a gut-wrenching monologue recorded by a detective at the scene, the gravity of the event was laid bare. Detective Alan Pierce, voice raw with emotion. It was as if time had frozen. Everything, the crunch of the snow, the bitter cold, the desperate cries fused into one single, never-ending moment of horror. Initial response and evidence collection. Dawn broke with the promise of answers, as Mapleton's police force mobilized to piece together the fragmented clues. A command center was quickly established at the local precinct. Detectives and forensic experts meticulously combed through every detail, determined to find any lead that could point to Alicia's whereabouts. Early evidence included tire tracks imprinted in the frosty snow, unusual fibers snagged on the car door, and a nearly indiscernible footprint near the scene. Among the gathered clues was a cell phone discarded in the snow near the abandoned warehouse district. Its screen glowed with a series of cryptic text messages exchanged between Alicia and an unknown contact. A conversation that hinted at mounting paranoia and unsettling warnings. Interview excerpts and emerging leads. Detective Pierce, renowned for his tenacity and skill in handling sensitive cases, conducted multiple interviews with potential witnesses. In one such session with a local shopkeeper, Mrs. Evelyn Carter, the tension in her voice was palpable. "Mrs. Carter, I remember seeing that van earlier that evening, but I thought nothing of it. Now, every time I pass by Elmwood Avenue, I shudder thinking about what might have happened." Another crucial breakthrough occurred when surveillance footage from a nearby gas station revealed a shadowy glimpse of the van's rear, the license plate partially visible in the darkness. Forensic experts painstakingly enhanced the image, establishing that the vehicle was rented under a false identity. This digital breadcrumb led investigators to delve deeper into the rental agency's records, revealing a connection to one of the two prime suspects. The suspects under the microscope. Over the following days, attention focused on David Rourke and Leo Jenkins. Detective Pierce recalled an early conversation with Rourke that hinted at potential anger and bitterness. Detective Pierce, recorded interview, Mr. Rourke, can you tell me where you were this past December night? David Rourke, defensively, I was at home, alone, just trying to forget the past. Rourke's terse responses and inconsistent timeline raised red flags. In parallel, Leo Jenkins' background was examined with equal intensity. Neighbors described Leo as a man who drifted in and out of town with little accountability, a shadow who seldom left a trace. During a police interview in a Stark interrogation room, Leo offered an evasive reply when asked about his whereabouts. Leo Jenkins, shrugging with a hint of nervousness, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was around, but I didn't see anything unusual. A meticulous analysis of cell phone records, digital footprints, and CCTV from across Mapleton gradually began to weave together a pattern that connected the two suspects to the grim events of that December night. Specialized forensic teams uncovered critical DNA samples on the discarded cell phone, and microscopic traces of materials on the vehicle's tire impressions further implicated those who had been roaming the outskirts of town. Critical forensic discoveries. A breakthrough emerged when a forensic technician examined a fragment of a torn garment found at the scene. Advanced fiber analysis linked the fabric to a jacket owned by none other than David Rourke, establishing a tangible link to the crime scene. Further analysis of the cell phone messages revealed that Alicia had become increasingly fearful in her final days, scribbling frantic notes and warnings that alluded to an impending encounter with someone from her past. In a quiet moment as he reviewed the evidence in his cluttered office, Detective Pierce recorded a reflection on his recorder. Detective Pierce, every piece of evidence, every minute detail, seems to point toward a calculated abduction. The fabric, the digital trail, it's the puzzle of a lifetime. We must uncover the motive hidden behind Alicia's final messages. As investigators correlated forensic findings with witness testimonies, the threads of this mystery began to tighten around its central figures. The integration of digital evidence provided a pivotal junction, with experts confirming that the van's license plate had been traced back to a fraudulent rental that, in turn, was linked to a location associated with Rourke. The arrest and legal proceedings. After long, tense nights, police efforts culminated in an arrest that both shocked and relieved the community of Mapleton. On January 5th, as the early winter sun struggled to dispel the lingering chill, law enforcement agents raided a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of town. Inside, they apprehended David Rourke along with several incriminating items, a collection of personal belongings and digital devices that directly tied him to the fraudulent rental and the night of Alicia's abduction. At a press briefing held at the Mapleton courthouse, Detective Pierce delivered the news with a somber gravity. Detective Pierce, we have gathered overwhelming evidence linking Mr. Rourke to this heinous act. The community deserves answers, and now justice will begin to take its course. Subsequently, the case was thrust into the public spotlight. The trial spanned several weeks, with courtroom drama unfolding as forensic experts testified about the meticulous tracing of digital footprints and physical evidence. Leo Jenkins, though initially a person of interest, maintained his innocence through the entire legal process, and a subsequent investigation confirmed his lack of involvement in Alicia's fate. The prosecuting attorney painted a grim picture of premeditation and calculated cruelty, arguing that Rourke's troubled past had morphed into a vendetta against a victim whose only crime was seeking hope. Community impact and media frenzy. Mapleton was left reeling in the wake of these events. Vigils were held in Alicia's honor, and community leaders stepped forward to discuss measures that could prevent such tragedies from recurring. Local news channels and national outlets broadcast live coverage, with headlines such as Mapleton's Darkest Hour, Inside the Abduction of Alicia Monroe, and Justice at Last for a Beloved Activist. In the courtroom's hushed corridors, whispers spread of the night's horror and of a community forced to confront its shadows. A local newspaper's editorial read, "In a town where unity once reigned, the loss of Alicia Monroe stands as a stark reminder that even the safest havens can harbor secrets that lead to unspeakable acts. The pursuit of truth must never waver." During a follow-up interview in his modest home, Leo Jenkins, still coping with public suspicion, remarked in a tone of quiet resignation. Leo Jenkins, "I always told people I was just passing through. Now, I hope the world understands that sometimes things happen that we're powerless to stop." For many residents, the case has become a turning point, a moment of reckoning that calls into question the very nature of trust and safety in close-knit communities. The arrest, the trial, and the subsequent sentencing have all contributed to an ongoing dialogue about mental health, redemption, and the destructive potential of unchecked anger. Sentencing and legacy. In a dramatic courtroom verdict, David Rourke was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The judge's verdict was delivered with a measured finality that resonated through the silent courtroom. Judge Miranda Steele, "This court finds David Rourke guilty of abduction, manslaughter, and multiple counts of aggravated assault. Let this judgment serve as a reminder that the torment inflicted upon a community will never be forgotten." Though the legal resolution brought a measure of closure, the emotional scars remained. Alicia Monroe's family, friends, and all who knew her continue to honor her memory by establishing a foundation dedicated to community support and mental health advocacy. This enduring legacy ensures that her hope and kindness will persist even as the town grapples with the trauma of that winter night. In an intimate moment with the media outside the courthouse, Alicia's sister, Danielle Monroe, whispered to a reporter, "Danielle Monroe, Alicia believed in the power of compassion. Her legacy is a call to action for every community to stand together, to never turn a blind eye to suffering." As our investigation of the Alicia Monroe case comes to a close, we are left with an unsettling yet vital realization. Beneath the surface of everyday life, hidden forces can converge to spark tragedy. Mapleton's once idyllic reputation now bears the shadow of that fateful December night, a haunting memory that underscores the frailty of human existence. In a somber reflection recorded by Detective Pierce during the case's final days, he mused, "Detective Pierce, this tragedy teaches us that beneath every smile and every friendly greeting lies an untold story. We must remain vigilant, caring, and aware that sometimes the most familiar faces conceal the darkest secrets." Alicia Monroe's story, though marked by loss and sorrow, is also a testament to resilience, the unyielding strength of a community determined to seek truth and honor a life that was unjustly cut short. Let her memory remind us that every act of kindness, every compassionate gesture, has the power to defy the darkness that so often lurks just beyond our sight. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows of Mapleton. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and remember, even in the bleakest moments, hope can emerge from the darkness.